Since Deb left,
But the first,
basically, I know,
Greg.
basically took Deb's spot.
Welcome to the Hillsborough Township Board of Education meeting for February 27th, 2017. In accordance with the state sunshine law in New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on February 23rd, 2017 to the Hillsborough Beacon and the Courier News. Let's have a roll call.
Sure. Ms. Bogacheski? Here. Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Mr. Cohen? Here. Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Ms. Haas?
Here.
Ms. Haley? Here. Mr. Kins?
Here.
Ms. Trujillo?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Okay, Board, we had some correspondence
This is the one I printed.
as listed on your agenda. And, we're going right to Superintendent's report. That was quick.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. It's my pleasure to share some great news from around the district with the board and with the community. Last month, the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association honored hundreds of New Jersey's female athletes at the annual National Girls and Women in Sports Celebration Day. Hillsborough High School lacrosse player Victoria Rivera was one of the athletes honored. This program recognizes the exceptional scholastic and collegiate athletic accomplishments of hundreds of female athletes across the state. Let's give Victoria a big round of applause. At the beginning of February, ARIS fifth grade teams 5J and 5K held their third annual Super Bowl. This is Super Bowl canned food drive collection. The two teams, headed by teachers Diane Lyons and Carrie Sanchez, Beth Raff, Mindy Andreski, challenged each other to collect the most cans of soup to donate to the Hillsborough Township Food Pantry. The 5J and 5K families came through in an amazing fashion, gathering an astounding 2,214 cans of soup for charity. The ARIS Super Bowl victors were Team 5J Falcons, who collected over 1,200 total cans, but truly all of the students were winners by embracing the life lesson of giving back to their community. Way to go, teams 5J and 5K. I'd like to also congratulate several of our Hillsborough teachers who were recently named to Magic 98.3 and NJEA Teachers Who Make Magic Class of 2017. Hillsborough High School's Vincent Caccaro, Amsterdam Elementary School's Kelly Mering, Hillsborough Middle School's Patrick Heck, and Hillsborough Elementary School's Amy Regan were all named to this distinguished list. This program recognizes outstanding teachers for their important contributions to society. Vincent, Kelly, Patrick, and Amy will join Autumn Rhodes, John McAdavey, and Triangle's Courtney Kubaski, who were named earlier this month as Teachers Who Make Magic, at an award banquet to be held on April 19th, 2017 in Edison, New Jersey. Congratulations to Vincent, Kelly, Patrick, Amy, John, and Courtney, and thank you so much for the magic that you bring to your students every day. Two Hillsborough High School seniors have been nominated as U.S. President's Scholars. This is a prestigious program that recognizes outstanding high school students from around the country. Congratulations to Hillsborough High School's Theron Karibareddy and Joyce Liu. The U.S. Presidential Scholars Program was established in 1964 by executive order of the President to recognize and honor some of our nation's most distinguished graduating high school seniors. Congratulations to Theron and Joyce on this wonderful honor. I also have to share with you that I had the pleasure of attending the Robo-Raiders annual Ship Day. This is the opportunity to kind of unveil the robot and to share with members of Robo-Raiders, their family, and other guests how they're progressing with the robot. It was truly exceptional. This was a 120-pound robot that actually climbed rope. It's truly remarkable, some of the things that that our Roborators do all the time. Every year it just keeps getting better and better. I wanted to give a big shout out to all of my friends at the Roborators Team 75. They're doing a fantastic job. Highly, highly impressive work from those young group of young adults at the high school. Let's give them a round of applause too. I wanted to also share with the board that today was Legislative Day down in Trenton. I am the current president of the Garden State Coalition of Schools, and I had the opportunity to visit with close to a dozen legislators today to discuss issues including school funding and trying to ensure that all school districts are adequately funded and that we have property tax relief as part of the overall process of educating the children in the state of New Jersey. I can tell you that it was a very interesting day, and I will be following up at the Governance Committee on some more specific information that I look forward to sharing with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schiff, for that superintendent's report. We had some minutes, board members, in your packets. So if you had a chance to look at those, I'll take a motion first for approval for the February 13th, 2017 executive session minutes.
So moved.
And okay. Dean and Tom. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Brett and Dana. Okay. I'll also take a motion for the approval for the February 13th, 2017 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Judy and Brett. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Dana. All right. Minutes pass. We're going to go to committee reports. I went a little bit out of order, but that's okay. I wanted to do this right before we get into the public portion. So we had, I think, almost all the committees met. I think they all met. So we'll just go around. Oh, HR didn't meet. That's right, correct. So we'll go first to Education Committee because I see you're ready. Mrs. Haas.
Okay, the Education Committee had a wonderful meeting at 11 o'clock in the morning, which felt really good after years of 7:30 a.m. meetings. And we discussed numerous things. One of them was some very, very minor revisions to the math curriculum. These are just, little minor adjustments that have no major impact on the curriculum. We changed a course title, and that was also very minor. We discussed a new course proposal for American Sign Language 2. As everybody knows, we've gone through 1 year. It's been extremely popular, and as it has been remarked before, it's very amazing to walk into a classroom and see no sound, because when you walk into that classroom, everybody's talking with their hands, and it's just a really wonderful thing that our kids have taken to it the way they have. We approved 2 books that are companion readers to the textbook for our AP World History class. We had a minor discussion about district calendars and whether or not we should note holidays. And in the past, we have done both. We have noted holidays and we have not noted holidays. And what we decided to do, since we are already done with our 2017-18 calendar, we're going to leave things alone for this year and next year. And then at the point when we discuss the 2018-19 calendar, we'll review that subject again. We also looked at a very, very detailed analysis of special education costs. And we have noted that over the past 6 years, special education costs have increased an average of 7.4%. And next year, at this very preliminary time, we've noted a projected increase of 4.46%. Both of these numbers are clearly above the 2% tax levy. So this is not only a concern for Hillsborough, but it's a concern for districts all over the state. And hopefully the state at some point should come up with some solution to this problem, because not only are there the in-district costs, but there are totally uncontrolled outside school costs involved in the special ed area that we have no ability to control. What else? Oh, we discussed random drug testing. And we went through a brief history of random drug testing, mostly for the new members of the committee. And Mrs. Borick, our supervisor of nursing, gave us a very detailed description of what the process is and how it has worked out. And basically, we went through a couple of ideas in relation to that, and we looked at the statistics. Right now, the committee was not particularly interested in relitigating the policy. We felt that we wanted to spend some attention addressing younger students than the high school, because we feel it's very important to catch kids before they get into situations where they might need some support. And we'd also like to highlight some of the programs that are already in place in the district. And in case anybody doesn't know it, on our website in the community tab, there are a huge number of resources, not only for drug issues, but for all issues that may affect children and their families. And people should take a look at that if they're in need of any assistance in that area. We had a brief update on the strategic plan, and we also had a discussion on the Franklin Charter Schools issue. And our discussion was sort of motivated by the fact that Franklin Township had a meeting on February 22nd where they are trying to get a variety of school districts interested in the issue of when a charter school goes to one district, that one district is getting a very heavy burden in terms of the number of children that they have to pay for out of the budgets that they have ready for just their regular school. And in every district where charter schools and charter school seats exist, there is a possibility of a large amount of money that needs to be set aside for the tuition for those students and the transportation. And while Hillsborough has gotten lucky in the past, we've had charter school proposals back in 2011 and 2012 that would have taken $1 million and $1.5 million out of our budget. We have, probably because we have a very strong and comprehensive school system, we have dodged that bullet for the most part. We currently have 5 students who attend charter schools out of our 7,300 population. So we discussed whether or not the board as a whole would like to take a position on charter schools. This has happened. Our board has taken positions on the 2011 and 2012 schools that were proposed to draw from Hillsborough. And we've taken a position before, and Franklin Township has basically asked all the school districts in Somerset and Middlesex County to join them in this resolution. So if the board wishes, we can discuss that further tonight. And I guess that is it, but I did want to say something about the Academy Awards last night, because I was very touched by this, and no, I'm not talking about the disaster that happened at the end. But the very first person who received an award last night was for Best Supporting Actor, and his name was Mahershala Ali. And he got up to the podium, first speech of the night, and the first thing he said was that he wanted to thank his teachers, and he wanted to thank his professors. And he said that they consistently told him, it's not about you, it was about being a servant of these stories and the characters in it. And 2 tissue boxes later, I started to think about how that applied to our schools. And, you know, for everything that we do for the kids and, you know, all the career and college readiness, it really needs to be about more than them. It needs to be about how they can get a great education here and learn how to be smart and compassionate servants of society who are in a position to make the world better. And, you know, as we go on with our strategic plan, I'd like to sort of keep that up front and important. But anyway, I was very touched by that speech. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Haas. Let's go to, we'll do all the committee reports. We'll come back. Discussion?
Sure.
Okay, let's, operations?
Sure. So operations met at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. I just had to point that out. That's the time that we meet. And right now, one of the main things that we're starting to do is piece together the budget. Administration's working very hard on it. Mr. Gallagher, who's our current supervisor of buildings and grounds from Aramark, came in and gave us a breakdown of some of the major projects that are at the tops of the priority lists. One of them is looking at potentially replacing the track at the high school, purchasing several pieces of equipment that would help us be more efficient throughout the district, as well as doing some gym sandings at Aris, the high school, the middle school, Sunnymead, and Woods Road. We also have some other very high level things that we have going on, such as mechanical, or recommendations on mechanical upgrades, repairs for the HVAC. As we all know, it's been a little bit of a sore subject at the beginning of the year. Right now, I'd like to just say that since Mr. Gallagher came in and Dr. Schiff and Ayman Mahmood have been really working together, probably a little bit too much of their time right now is focused on that, but some of our issues seem to have really gone down with Mr. Gallagher being in place. But we have some roof repairs that need to be done, and other facilities, I would say upgrades, possible paintings and carpeting. So all these things will be talked about, and hopefully there's going to be a way that we can find a way to do these things in our budget coming up. We also received recently a letter from the Executive County Superintendent, our mid-year review that complimented our district for our budgeting. So that also is a nice thing for us to always have on our side, that we seem to be doing a very good job. We had our architect, Greg Somjan, call in to talk about one of the projects that we're looking at, which is cooling Aris and the middle school, some of the classrooms, and we're still working on those scopes, costing everything out, so we're not quite ready to say that everything is going to be done 100%. And I think that right now that's it. Oh, we did have another minor discussion on potentially looking at the rock walls at the middle school in Aris to do some needed repairs so that they're actually functional, because right now I don't believe that we're utilizing those right now. So I think that is pretty much it for right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Haley. Let's go to Mrs. Santafonte for governance, and then we'll do some discussion.
Okay. Our committee met last week. After Judy's presentation, I don't have a whole lot to say, since everything we discussed was discussed in education as well. So, but Dr. Antunes did report to our group that there are 3 committees working on our strategic plan right now. They've been brainstorming, they've been doing research for us. They are looking to come back to the board with some recommendations with research. And they'll come to governance first and the full board hopefully late spring. So those groups are very energetic, enthusiastic, and moving forward with the strategic plan that we worked with the community on. And then we also did discuss the memorandum of charter school expansions for Middlesex and Somerset that was put out by Franklin. And there was discussion about funding. There was also a recommendation of possibly doing a resolution at the NJSBA Delegate Assembly from the group that I thought was a good recommendation as well. So I think there continues to be group talk amongst all the groups, trying to figure out how to address the concerns that's coming to local counties. But there were the 2 things we discussed.
Thank you, Mrs. Santafonte. Mrs. Boguszewski, you had a question?
No, I just wanted
Comment?
to add more to what Mrs. Haas was saying at the education meeting. Unfortunately, I missed last week's Board of Ed meeting about the random drug testing, but I did watch it on YouTube. And what was great about it is that because I'm sure most of you know that I am a nurse in the emergency department and I see all of what comes in and out of our department, and giving me a week, I was able to ask a bunch of questions that I believe some of our residents did ask, and I'm hoping to be able to answer some, and I too have some questions. First of all, I liked the fact that all of the parents that came up really want to work together with our district to try and figure out a solution for our drug problem. One of the things that Mrs. Haas had mentioned in the education meeting was to bring back the DARE. I totally support that. I think that would be very positive. Another thing another resident had brought up is to start the process earlier, not just look at high school, but look at 7th through 12th grade. Maybe even question some of the error students in 5th and 6th grade. I feel that prior to getting either a parking permit or being allowed any extracurricular activities, I highly suggest parents go out and get a drug test. This can be done at your pediatrician's office. If they don't do it there, they will write a prescription, give it to the parents, and then the parents can go to QualCare or the other testing facilities and have it done. We do it all the time in the emergency department that high schools or other schools are suggesting because they think their students are, doing illegal substances. It's not necessary for our district to pay for something if the parents just go and do this. I feel as a parent, as a nurse, and a Board of Ed member, if my child brought home a letter and it was suggested that prior to them doing any extracurricular activities that they would like to see a drug test, I would do it, hands down. And I bet if we voice this opinion to all the parents that have children in extracurricular activities, everybody would go to their pediatrician and have it done. I talked to numerous doctors all week long, residents of all over Somerset County, and they all agreed on this. They all would do it, and no one's ever asked. It's just this random drug test. And then at the education committee, come to find out, our percentage is so low. And then I asked, well, why can't half of our students be tested? And I guess we don't have the nurses capable of doing that. I can round up 20 volunteer nurses in our town alone and dedicate 40 hours a week and test every single student in this district if you want. It's beyond cost. I mean, I think that if our town works together, we can abolish this. But the parents are on board, it seems like, the teachers are on board, and we're on board. So what is the next step? I think anyone who does any extracurricular activity starting this September should have this done. And if it becomes positive, it's not just 5 days slap on the wrist. They should not be allowed to do any of that. And their parking permit should be stripped if they are a driver. It's kind of like go big or go home. Isn't that what they say in sports?
Or chess.
I mean, I really think that we as Hillsborough can stand up and districts will follow us. It's so simple. It's a pee test. That's all it is. It's a urine test. Pee in a cup, people. Prove to everyone that you're drug-free. It's as simple as that.
I want to follow Ms. Bukaszewski. There's a lot of things that you reported on I want to reply to when we have the end of the night comments, because I want to piggyback this and continue the momentum. Having heard about this, I talked to the School Boards Association today, their attorney, the person who was very helpful dealing with the other issues regarding excused absences. She's very helpful. There is no there's no state or federal constitutional law or ruling against this. It's absolutely legal. She called it pay to play across the board. And I can forward the emails to the administration, president. I didn't hold back on it on purpose. I just wanted to wait for the impact of what Dana had to say. I didn't want to steal her thunder. All right, we've met and we talked about this I slapped myself in the head for not having this idea because it's a wonderful, simple idea. If you want to participate in any activity, be it a ski trip, be it a parking permit, be it a chess club, be it anything that you don't have to do as a student, your parent will take you and get a test done. And the results will be presented. A couple things happen here. One of the things that Mike Riley brought to the attention of the board and to the parents that were in the audience was that the parents are constantly asking us over the period of the last week or two, since the drug sweep, the accusations that we're burying the news, we're burying drug tests, we're keeping real estate values up artificially so we don't want to talk about it. It's all nonsense. That's not true. But he made a point, and that was very true, that parents need to own this issue. And he had told everybody, you can come to my place of business and I'll give you a $50 kit out of my pocket anonymously. No questions asked. So why can't the Board of Education turn around and say, you know what, we're going to cooperate with the community, but it's not our community's responsibility to be the drug testing czar of Hillsborough. But we have this random drug test as part of the policy that we have adopted. It's going to run out eventually. We'll have a chance to adopt or not adopt it, to continue. But for the moment, we have an opportunity to do something that will not cost us any money, that will send a message to the community that you get to own it, you take responsibility, act like parents, not your kids' friends. And then we need to examine how that's going to impact, and we should start that right away and have a discussion and have this voted on, done soon, and have it announced so that by the beginning of next year, everybody knows going into the next school year, this is the policy. Hands down, there's no downside to this. It's an easy call. And I believe, Dr. Schiff, that right now we have 5 votes that will nail this down in seconds. So I don't see where it's even going to be a question of, do we have the votes to do this? I think the votes are there. I think you know that. I know that. I already polled a few of the members already, so I think we've got the votes. So I think we should go through the process, as we have to get into the committee, get it out. But the hard work, is this something that the School Boards Association have run into? Not a problem. All right, and they would be happy to share any information. And then we could also go to the public with their comments and see what they have to think about it and get it wrapped up. The other thing I want to say about this drug issue about Deer, why did we end it? We need to bring that back. Absolutely, positively, it has to come back. Starting at the 5th and 6th grade level, my daughter at 5th grade, Deer, Raritan Valley, we were all there. It has to start all over again. And then I want to know, Ms. Haas, you glossed over the fact that the nursing supervisor gave you a report, but you didn't give us what the report was. How many tests have officially been given in the year 2016-17? How many 2015-16? And how many 14-15? How many tests? Boom. And how much is left to hit a target of that 10% that we have been hitting? And why, based upon my knowledge, have we not even come close? And with about 70-plus days left of school, how are we going to hit that target of 200? Based upon the fact that we're kind of low on nurses, and there's always an everyday need for what they do, in addition to somebody peeing in a cup and then taking care of the process. So how are we going to do that? And what's the report? Why do we not get the report? Why is it just you listen to the nursing supervisor and asking her what's the report, and we don't know what the numbers are?
The reports are in everybody's packet. But notwithstanding that fact, Basically, for the last 5 years, we've had a relatively consistent number of tests done, and they were less than the 200 tests that were done when we had a grant for the subject that required that figure. But to be perfectly honest, the first year that we went to a lower number, we had a higher percentage. Other than 1 year where we had a 12% positive, every other year we had single-digit positives. And in some cases, that's, 2, 3, 5, 7 kids. And believe me, I do not, belittle the fact that 1 or 2 kids may have been caught. I think every kid that can get help through this program is worth doing. But the evidence here doesn't seem to indicate that there would be necessarily more positives with more testing. The point of random drug testing is that it be random. And, just like polls and any other kinds of surveys, you pick a random population by professional random selection, and whatever you get, you can extrapolate what part of your population may have a problem.
I can appreciate that. My problem is that we have a target every year that we're not even coming close to hitting.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said, my issue with it is that we have a target that we're supposed to hit on the amount of tests that we're supposed to perform, and we're not hitting it.
I'm not aware when that target was set.
Well, really? There's no
Yeah.
10% target?
There was in the grant.
When did it end?
2000.
When we renewed the policy,
2000.
did everything just fall to the wayside, whatever was in the original policy?
No, the policy was in 2008, and we got a federal grant because back in 2008, we didn't have much money for
But
anything.
Ms. Haas, did that change the policy because the grant ran out?
Yeah, because the grant
How?
had, excuse me, I don't need you shouting at me.
But
The
you're
grant-
you're saying dollars ran out. You're not telling me how a policy changed.
The grant had certain requirements, okay? That was among the requirements. After the grant
All right,
ran
thank
out,
you. That
it
was-
was the decision of, whomever, not the board, to have more or less, and that's where it went.
That's
That-
not,
That was what the board
that's not
approved.
acceptable.
Let's stop.
There
Let's
is-
stop.
There is an
Dr.
appropriation in
Schiff,
the
that's
budget
not
every year.
acceptable.
Let's stop. I'm going to ask
That is
Dr.
unacceptable. It's not
Before you
acceptable.
start,
We have a target, despite whatever the grant
Stop.
requirements were.
Steve, hold on a second.
It was unilaterally done.
policy-
We talk about good policy, we talk about good process.
Policy passed-
Yes, that was just dropped because of what?
The
How
policy,
did it drop?
The policy passed in February 2008. The content, the wording of the policy has never changed. It's remained the same. There are no targets in the policy at all. There are no targets in the policy.
That's the first I heard of this.
All right, there are no
Read the
targets.
policy.
There are no to receive
I
the
have a
federal
full-time
grant money. We
position.
had to have a target of testing at a minimum 10%
to
of the
sit there and
testing pool. The testing pool was typically in those years about 1,800 students. Those are the students that participate in the sports, the extracurricular activities, the parking pass, et cetera. About 1,800. So we did have a target during those years. Those are the first 3 years, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, of approximately 180 students, which we exceeded that target. After that, the policy became a tool for the administration to use in this battle against this national drug problem. The board never directed the administration to do more or less testing. We provided money for testing every year in the budget. I don't recall the administration ever coming to us asking that we need more money or less money for testing. They just used the tool. We've already admitted here tonight, one last thing, Dr. Schiff, and I'll hand it. We've already admitted here tonight what the original testing numbers, approximately what they were, and that we've done fewer in the last 5 years of the test. But it has been our practice not to reveal the exact numbers that we were testing. That's been our practice because we were trying to retain the deterrent value of the random drug testing. If we want to make our report from Mrs. Bork public, then we'd have to see if that's the will of the board to make it public. before I go to you, I'm going to go to Dr. Schiff because he asked me to speak. Dr. Schiff.
I just wanted to touch base on what you, Mrs. Boguszewski, and Mr. Cohen were talking about in terms of a new policy that would require parents to test their children before participating in co-curricular activities, athletic activities, and parking. I think that's what you're interested in. Our process would be that we would have to go to the Education Committee. We would contact Strauss Esme, which is our policy advisor, to draft some language, and then it would have to go through an attorney review in order to ensure that we're not violating anyone's constitutional rights. And drug testing in school has been adjudicated at the Supreme Court level of our country. So the legal questions about whether a proper search is done is what has been discussed at the highest courts in the land. So we want to make sure that we provide an environment or a policy-making environment that doesn't inadvertently violate law or violate a child's constitutional
Well, it
rights.
just has to do with wording. I mean, we wouldn't make them, but we could highly suggest.
I wanted to clarify, because what I heard you say is that you wanted to, essentially, if a parent did not have their child tested, they could not participate.
Exactly.
Okay, so whether that's a sport, extracurricular activity, the clubs that we have, if they wanted to go to homecoming dance, prom dance, they had to get tested by their parent in order to participate. That I just want to make sure that that's what your goal is,
That's our goal
and that's
yes.
what you're saying. You have 5 members of the board who would be in support.
Well, I think we have 5 members based upon my conversations with people who think that it's the parents' responsibility, and are libertarians and believe that the government isn't supposed to be the nanny state to solve those issues, and that this turns the issue back to the parents. And if you say to every child who wants to participate in these activities that it's a pay-to-play, and this is the responsibility, and if you want to participate, this is the responsibility. This is it. That's fair. And as I said, their attorney, the School Boards Association attorney, said they have no issue with it.
Okay.
The only issue they mentioned was, and here's the funny part. You want to know what the issue was? A parent may challenge the law and take the Board of Education to court. That's the only issue.
So. I think that would likely happen. I mean, you can
Well,
maybe.
I would
challenge
expect there to be
parent
a
to come
community
before the board and sue us.
response to such a policy.
What?
I would expect there to be a community response to such a policy, to
And I think
require
they
a
would
drug
support
test in
us.
order to, I'm not so sure about that.
Well, then I would look forward to the conversation.
But honestly, this is what a deliberative body should do. It should debate all of those issues, debate whether it's strongly suggested or whether it's a requirement, debate the needs of our parent community versus creating an environment that's drug-free, or at least forcing that issue on co-curricular and other activities, maintaining the constitutional protections for children as well. These are complicated issues, and that's
Exactly.
and that's why the process has to be informed by people that really understand the law, understand this issue, and this board actually pays for a service to do that that work. And Strauss Esme will provide us with draft language based upon whatever the will of at least at this point, what the Education Committee is going to discuss, and then we can have a public debate about it.
Dr. Schiffer, you already told a child that your parents have to take you to a pediatrician to get a physical to play certain sports.
I know.
Well, right, but a physical is different than a drug test. So we have to understand that this particular body needs to be informed by our attorneys and make sure that we don't inadvertently violate anyone's rights.
Can I just ask a question really quick? I don't want to release, I'm not asking to release the numbers, but what I'm asking as far as releasing numbers, then over the past 3 years, I want to know what we budgeted for and what we actually used.
Very fair, sure. Thank you.
Dana, you okay?
No, I asked Jen that question.
And I welcome the public's input on this and any opposing view. I like to hear what the opposing view is. I understand maybe there's some potential challenge to what the punishment may be, Mr. Kinst. That, my feeling is one and done. You get caught, you're out. Maybe that's too harsh. Maybe we could look at it from a different point of view. maybe there's some massaging of that, but I think as far as you choosing to decide to participate in an activity, I think you have to, we can define that activity. I think that's fair, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's not fair. But I want to have that discussion. I'm not letting this ride out and just disappear into the sunset.
Yeah, and let me also...
We owe it to the community.
Absolutely. Let me also say that, and this is more for the public, the board knows this, any policy has to have 2 public readings before it becomes implemented. So the policy development process is usually about 2 months in order to go from concept to review at the committee level to a first and second reading, so that the public does have an opportunity to share their thoughts and desires as we go through this process.
And I think we'd rather get it going now, while we can get it done if we're going to get it done, so that we're ready for the September school year. And give the parents plenty of opportunity to get their kids cleaned up.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's, anything else from the board on committee reports? All right, let's go to the...
Greg?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I have a question about the Franklin Charter.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I just wanted to just raise a couple of concerns. The first is the concern about the funding for charter schools, and that while it may not be an issue right now, it may affect Hillsborough in the future. So I would like to have a discussion about that. And second, I was just thinking about the Code of Ethics, where it talks about us making decisions in the educational welfare of all children, so not just children who would attend Franklin's charter schools, but all district children.
All right, so the resolution is not on the agenda for tonight's meeting, the Franklin Township inspired resolution on charter schools. But if there is enthusiasm for passing passing that resolution tonight, I mean, if we can find some enthusiasm for it from the board members, we can put it on the agenda of the next meeting. That way the document will be, we'll make it a public document on our website with our agenda so the public can see it before the meeting. I think that's important in case they had comments at the meeting next time. So I don't know if I asked for a show of hands or...
Just real quick question. I'd like to reiterate what you mentioned, that we're responsible for the education of all children within this district. Correct?
It actually doesn't say that in the Code of Ethics. It says all children.
We're not. I would argue that we should be responsible, and our charge, our authority is for the district of those residents in Hillsborough, Millstone, who send their students to this district.
And
that's what
fair.
we're elected for.
That's fair. I think, though, that Franklin Township's charter schools does designate Hillsborough as a sending district.
I'm not sure if that's a question more for... Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, there's, when a school receives its charter, there are certain communities that by law have to carve out part of their budget into support anticipated enrollment in those districts. And this particular resolution that our colleagues in Franklin Township are asking for us to consider is actually limiting the expansion, not eliminating the charters. So whenever a charter school expands or whenever a charter school initially receives its charter, in order to provide funding for those charters, the Department of Education anticipates what the enrollment's going to be. And then the local school board has to allocate a certain dollar figure based upon an estimated enrollment the year prior to. So this could be in the millions of dollars, and it's not necessarily for existing students, it's for predicted students. And then there's adjustments that occur in October of the year that the school is open. So there are some logistical issues whenever you have an initial charter as well as a charter that begins to expand. So that kind of summarizes a little bit of the, there are other concerns certainly that Franklin and other districts in Somerset and Middlesex County have, but that really defines what their main issue is.
Dr. Schiff, do you know that any of the 5 or 6 charter schools specifically mentioned in the resolution list Hillsborough as a sending district?
No.
No, okay, that was the direct
And
answer.
that's
I'm
the
sorry.
difference
No,
from what
yeah,
happened
answer
back in.
directly.
That's a good answer, right?
Sorry.
We're just looking for a no.
And
That's right.
that's what happened back in, whenever we had the
Couple years ago.
resolution. We were actually
That's correct.
contacted by the state to say, this charter school, and then one was based on technology, and I think the other one was based on international language, are planning to enroll students, and then there's a process that's laid out in statute for how you can appeal that, and which we did, and the DOE chose not to grant charters to those schools. So there's a process. I mean, charter schools is a public education. What Franklin is asking their neighboring districts to do is kind of have a show of support. But again, it's not impacting our district directly, and as elected officials for the residents of Hillsborough and Millstone, we're responsible for the students in our district.
So let me ask you like this. I think I already know that Tom would be disinclined to be in favor of the resolution. Is there anyone else that would not favor it?
What?
Anyone that would not favor the resolution? You're not. 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's about split. So let's put it on for next time. I think we should go ahead and put it on the agenda and vote on it next time.
Why are we doing the job of other, I don't understand.
Let's vote on it. I think we should. I mean, if we're going to be split.
Concentrating is on what's going on here in Hillsborough.
I know, I think I don't want to disenfranchise anybody
Why are we talking about
that is in favor of the resolution.
Is this something that's important, has to be done right now,
No.
or even next meeting? Why are we even addressing this? This is like on the bottom of the barrel. This is way at the bottom of the barrel.
So is there a majority of the board who actually wants to make this an action agenda, either on this meeting or a future meeting?
There was
I'm not going to. I'm not giving my own opinion on it because I'm trying to act as just the chair now to see what everybody else is doing, not influence other members.
I have no
I think,
intention.
I think the financial aspect of the charter schools is a concern of ours.
But
no
this
matter
is
how we-
only for the Franklin
I
one, that's
understand.
not going to impact Hillsborough, correct?
I understand.
Okay, that's all.
And I don't think we need to voice our opinion
Okay.
and support or not support
Brett.
education in Franklin.
Let's go to
Could
Brett.
care less.
Mr. Cooper.
Can I ask a quick question on the way it is? So currently, none of the charter schools or proposed charter schools are pulling from us, or how's it work if, although we're not one of the polling districts, if someone from here wants to go there, do we still have to send them and pay for them?
Yeah, that's correct. And Mrs. Haas alluded to that 5 of our students actually attend the charters, even though Hillsborough is not identified as one of the home districts.
So we don't have to budget for it ahead of time, but we have to pay it when they decide to go.
Yes.
So it could potentially affect us, even though it's not affecting us on paper necessarily, right?
But that's like us doing a resolution saying we don't want to provide transportation for students who choose to send their kids to private schools. I mean, that probably costs us more. Right? I mean, I'm just trying to compare, a little bit if you think about it. I'm not overly concerned that we're going to lose a huge amount of our population all of a sudden. And if we are concerned, then we should be having a different discussion.
Dr. Schiff, I'm confused. Brett was talking about how we're sending kids there, they're deciding to go there. How does that happen when isn't it a lottery pick? They put their names in a hat and they're picked out? Or anybody could just decide I want to go there?
Yes, I don't believe that there's a lottery. I think they're filling seats at this point. And they're going to look at a much, much larger expansion of hundreds of additional seats.
28% increase.
So just a point of order, is there actually a motion on the floor to
Well, I don't think the board. I'm not an expert on Robert's rules, but I don't think the board at a prior meeting has to vote to set an agenda item for the next meeting. Who sets the agenda items?
Typically, it comes out of committee and administration.
Is that a committee?
It's the president. The
Yes,
president
I
sets
know.
it.
So,
Can we just
yeah,
have if you're
I
going to
think-
put it
I
on the
think-
agenda,
right.
could you make it
Certainly
very
you're
clear to all the members
Look,
what we're going to be
look,
voting on?
I do not believe that this would pass, but I do not feel with the board split that I would like to disenfranchise anyone from having a vote on it. I think that's the correct decision. Franklin Township gave it to us. Many board members would like to vote on it. We can't vote on it tonight because it hasn't been made public on our agenda for public to come up and see what it is and make their comment. So we'll put it on for the next agenda and we'll vote on it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So let's go to comments. Let's go to the public. So first, we're going to start with specifically if you have any suggestions about the budget coming up. There's 2 times during the board meetings when the public is invited to speak. One time now for the budget or the action agenda or new business. Later on for old business. Let's see. I'm just going to skip ahead. Before you make your comment, please state your name, address, and group affiliation as appropriate. So this is for anything specifically about the budget first, and then we'll go to action items and new items. Okay, so I don't see anything specifically on the budget. Let's go to the action agenda or new items.
Good evening. Thomas Zobelli, 9 Upper Neshannock Court. As I was listening to the committee reports being read out, I was a little bit concerned about specifically education and the talk that we would leave the current drug testing policy in place. I do agree that we need to start at a younger age and, work our way up. However, as I said at the last meeting, if something isn't working, why are we still doing it? I know there was a vote, but it doesn't make sense to me. If it's the saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it's broken, you must. I've come up with it. If it's broken, you have to fix it. So I think it's foolish for us to say, well, we'll just not touch it because there's not a desire to touch it. I think, yes, I agree. As I said, let's work on figuring things out for those kids in younger grades and so forth. But it's foolish for us not to touch the current drug policy for high school students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Amy Salinger, teacher at Alton Road and the HEA treasurer. I just had a question about one of the action agendas about the new math curriculum. I know, Mrs. Haas, you said there were some tweaks. I'm just curious, when were they made? And once it goes through, will we be getting some sort of new, updated? I figured you would answer that, Dr.
They are so minor, Amy. Words from ascend to decrease, to increase, or so little.
Is it with the little tweaks to the New
Right,
Jersey
from the
new
student
Common
learning
Core?
standards over.
So
That is it.
Will we be getting some sort of update, or just...
Tracy will put them up on the
Okay.
website, and she can certainly let you know what that crosswalk is. We've been doing little by little all year or so, but
Okay.
they're so minor, it won't affect the teaching at all.
Okay, thank you.
Honestly, honestly, if they weren't pointed out to you, you wouldn't see them. It's like a small letter to a capital letter in a formula, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So,
All right.
if it was something of substance, I'm sure we'd have a very rigorous debate
Okay,
about
thank
it.
you.
Hi, Doug Bayless, Hillsborough resident. I had a question regarding the strategic plan, the 5-year plan that you guys are looking at now. What is the % likelihood that you feel that full-day kindergarten would make this 5-year strategic plan?
Yeah, but it's in the discussion.
Yeah, we actually have 3 study groups that are looking at 3 very distinct areas that came out of multiple stakeholder meetings. One of the areas is college and career readiness. The other area is student life, and the third is early childhood education. And we are talking about preschool as well as full day K.
Okay, and then the outcome of that would be coming...
We're looking at, in the summer into the fall of next year, making our final presentations, including budget and other things, for the board's consideration. And then the board needs to make the final determination about which ideas they'd like to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Henry Goodhue, Hillsborough Education Association, as well as Laurel Drive. Up here for 2 reasons. One, I would like to thank the committees that actually brought forth the discussion on a resolution regarding charter schools. As the second vice president of Somerset County Education Association. I am intimately involved in what's going on in Franklin. And I would like to say, and I mean no offense when I do, that it's extremely short-sighted to assume that this won't impact Hillsborough eventually. And what I'd like to offer is that at the panel discussion that was brought up last week in Franklin, there were two very enlightening presentations made, one by Mark Weber, who's a very famous education advocate and blogger, and then another by Darcy Summerusti, who was actually a board member herself. I think it would behoove the district and the board in particular to look at both of these prior to making any sort of decision to see what this is doing to Middlesex and what this is doing to Somerset, because the discussion that I just listened to does not have all of the facts. And I would offer to send both of those to the board if they would like them. I'm seeing
Sure.
yeses.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be happy to send those over to you. Second, I would like to share with the board my continued concerns related to classroom conditions. Today was the first somewhat cold morning we've had where school was in session. It was in the 30s this morning. We had buildings that started out at 57 degrees or lower. Around noon, I walked through at least 3 other buildings and found classrooms that were in the low 60s to high 50s. So again, when we're looking at considering what something will or won't do to our budget just because it's not in our town yet, if we can't get the heat working, if we don't have the resources to provide basics, I would tell you to take a look at Franklin, where 2% of their increase, or 67% of their 2% cap increase is being allocated for some of these things. And then think about what this is actually going to do to our district. Because if we can't keep children warm, it's going to be a lot harder if we have charter schools banging on our doors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to just ask Dr. Schiff about the heat. So it was my understanding from speaking with you earlier, Dr. Schiff, that we had some human error issues with the heat this morning. Do we discipline employees for not following through on what they need to do in the morning?
We would take the appropriate action. I'm aware of the high school, the 600 and 800 wing, as well as Woods Road, that had a boiler part that actually needed to be replaced and fixed. And those rooms were those particular temperatures. I'm not aware of other buildings, and maybe afterwards you can share with me what those buildings are. You can share with me now, but we'll track that to ground. We have been very, very concerned, as you can imagine, with making sure that our classrooms are appropriately warmed and hopefully eventually appropriately cooled as well in the district, and ensuring that our systems are working, the computer system is working, so we don't have to worry about a particular person actually flipping on a switch or flipping off a switch is very important. Mr. Gallagher has actually worked with Honeywell. He had a very large meeting with maybe half a dozen Honeywell people. They have laid out certain things that are definitely within their purview to address and to fix. There are a couple things that are not within their purview, and Pat Gallagher actually did a nice job of laying that out, and we're going to monitor that closely. But please don't hesitate to give me a call if you're aware of certain things that I may not be aware of, so that we can get that fixed immediately.
Sure, and I think Mr. Gillette's last comment may give me pause to do that, though. The fact that we're going to insinuate that employees would need to be disciplined based off of this, to be clear, our employees are the reason those rooms were heated today. They turned that heat on. It is not a failing of our employees, it's a failing of this district, it's a failing of budgetary priorities, and it's a failing of the subcontractors that have been brought here. So let's be very clear about that.
Thank you for your opinion.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Donadio, 82 Perrine Pike in Hillsborough. I found, first off, the conversation about the random drug testing very interesting, and look forward to the policy debate of this Board of Education moving forward with that. And I think related to that is I would like to see this body consider the school district's athletic contract. I believe there are several items which cause the document to be flawed. First of which, I believe the athletic contract violates New Jersey statutory and regulatory law, as it allows the athletic director, the principal, the school body to suspend or terminate a student from an athletic activity or an event for the acts or omissions committed outside of a school activity with no nexus to the school and no impact on the orderly administration of the school district as well. So I urge the committee to look at it for that reason. I also urge the Board of Education to look at the athletic contract because at best it is disingenuous to a student's right to appeal a suspension or a termination, and I would also submit to this board that it would violate a student's due process under the law, as there is very little fact-finding, there is no third-party arbitrator to determine the facts and circumstances of a given case. And I think most egregious to me, having gone recently through the process, is that this student remains suspended pending the appeal. And I think that the district needs to take a hard look at this, look at other school districts, look at best practices. Thirdly, I think that the athletic contract may also violate a student's First Amendment right to free speech, as it empowers, again, the athletic director, the superintendent, the principal, to suspend or terminate a student for comments that are made on a private social media account. Again, these are things I encourage the board to take a look at. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you. Anything? Thank you very much.
Greg, can I ask you a question? Where would we find the athletic contract? Is it a policy or is it a high school document?
It's on the, I believe it's available on the high school website, on the high school section of our website.
I couldn't hear what the question was.
All right, let's go to, I think we're going to go to, seeing no more public.
Oh, yeah, for the contract.
We're going to go to the action agenda?
It's on the-
Okay, so Dr. Schiff, please continue with the action agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of education to approve travel and related expenses, overnight field trips, field trip locations, the HIB determinations, revised mathematics curriculum, to approve the textbook, new course proposal, and approve staff for evening kindergarten registration as listed, to approve the resolution authorizing non-public expenditures, and the submittal of the 2017 NCLB amendment.
Do I
Do you have a motion?
Yeah,
So moved.
yeah. I think you have a motion for education
Excuse me.
and a second.
Second.
Any discussion for education? No questions. Okay, let's have a roll call.
Sure. Ms. Bogocheski?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Haas?
Yes, but I'd like to abstain from 9.9, the non-public items.
Separate.
So let's
Separate it out. Separate.
We can note these.
Well, we'll note it. Okay.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Kinst?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions that I'm recommending under the area of human resources. To approve the resolution to create a part-time instructional assistant as per students' IEP needs. To approve the retirements and resignations. The retirements of Carla Kerrigan, who has been a speech therapist with us since December 10th, 2002, as well as Kathleen Morrison, who is a teacher of special education at Auden Road, who has worked with us since September of 2006, and we thank them for their service to our district. Also approve the resignations as listed, revised leaves of absences, and approve the revised 7th period coverage, as well as the revisions of employment contract as listed. Approve the contract changes, transfers in assignments, leaves of absences, and appointments of an interim supervisor, long-term sub, instructional assistants, coaches, co-curricular advisors, and substitutes. To approve the mentors as listed, the pre-approval of extra period coverage, as well as the approval of extra period coverage, and the approval of 6th period coverage.
Do I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Any discussion for the HR section? No discussion? All right, let's have a roll call.
Sure, Ms. Bogacheski?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Kinst?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, Dr. Schiff.
Thank you. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of operations: to approve monthly financials, bills list, line item transfers, to approve the 2017-2018 non-public program instructional services with the ESC, also approve the coordinated transportation agreement with ESC, and approve the sidebar agreement with the Hillsborough Education Association, to approve reimbursement for loss, personal loss that occurred during mold and the septic problems that we had at Woodford.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Is this for 10 point?
It's for
10?
all of 10.
All of 10?
11.
Oh, sorry, all of 11.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Yeah. I would have liked to respond to 10 for a second, but I went too fast. No, go ahead. I have no more.
Anyone else? Discussion?
I'm going to
Yes.
spread out 11-5 this time.
Okay, so
Unless you want
N4?
to do it the way I did it last time.
we'll vote separately.
Just real quick, N11-4 or just 11-5?
I was going to say,
4, sorry.
yeah.
You want 4 and 5?
4 and 5.
Okay, so let's, without, if there's no further discussion, let's vote on everything under 11 except the 11.4 and 11.5. Okay, let's have a roll call on everything else.
Sure, Ms. Bogacheski?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Kinst?
Abstain?
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion
Okay,
passes.
Now.
do we need another motion for 11, 4 and 5? All right, a motion for 11, 4 and 5?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, so let's roll call just on 11.4 and 11.5 together.
Sure, Ms. Bogacheski?
Wait, sorry. We're doing 11.4
11.4.
and 5. Oh, okay, no.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Haas?
Abstain.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Kinst?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Let's have old business, any old business from the public? Old business from the board?
I don't have old business, but if I could tell everyone that the Hillsborough High School Theater is having their opening weekend this weekend coming up. They are doing Once on This Island. It does look to be a very exciting show that's coming together. Mrs. Stats, one of our retired teachers, is actually hard at work on the set for the kids this week for opening night. So,
Oh, no comment.
That's it.
Just waiting for President Gillette.
Yes. Then I'm good. Yes.
Who else answered? No, I'll wait.
No, Mr. Cohen, go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
I didn't say anything.
I saw Mrs. Haas earlier. Ms. Haas?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question, we've had the new ruling on rice noticing. When are we going to start doing that, if ever?
Yeah, to inform the board and the public, there was a ruling that came out of the appellate division of our Superior Court in the state of New Jersey that ruled that any personnel item that appears on a public agenda in a Board of Education meeting like we have now, every employee will receive a rice notice, which is a notice that indicates that employees' rights to have anything that is discussed about them in executive session heard in public session. This is a significant change. We have typically done rice notices in the state of New Jersey only for matters that may have a negative employment consequence. Now, for routine matters, teachers and other staff members will be receiving a rice notice. We're going to start that at our next Board of Education meeting. I've had conversations with Mr. Goodhue as well as Mr. Jabowski to give both of our collective bargaining units a heads up on the change in procedure. This is a change that the entire state is going to go through. We hope that this is a case that came out of Kean University for a professor that was not renewed employment. And we hope that Kane will actually appeal it to the Supreme Court, and then our professional associations will file a friend of the court or an amicus brief to say that this was that this is not a great ruling. Administratively, it's overburdensome, it's unnecessary, and could actually be counterproductive. So we'll keep the board informed of that, but there is going to be a change in procedure. And Rice is actually a court case of a particular individual, and it's commonly called the Rice Notice. But Rice again is informing an employee who appears on a public agenda that they have the right to hear in public whatever the board would discuss about them in executive session. And I do want to share with the board as well as with the community is that very few times, probably less than 5%, maybe 3% of the personnel motions that appear on a public agenda in New Jersey actually may have a negative employment consequence. So this is changing the entire process, and hopefully it'll be the ruling will be adjusted so that it will be narrowly focused only on those that may have a negative employment consequence.
Just for clarification, so for example, we had in our HR piece, so approving revised contracts and all those types of things, they're going to have to send out Rice notices.
Anytime a name of an employee is going to appear on a board agenda where action is going to be taken, they will now receive an individual Rice notice.
It's a little cumbersome.
And by the way, that's literally thousands.
I know, I get it. That needs to be fine-tuned. President Gillette, I said one comment, and then I had another comment that came up that I didn't notice until after the vote. First, Ms. Haas reported on the calendar for 17-18 that we're not going to discuss it until we're going to punt it down the road.
We did it a year ago.
No, but why is it too late to throw on the holidays on the calendar? Nothing's been printed. Nothing physically has been done, printed-wise. There's no website out there that's physically printed that says Christmas or not Christmas?
Well, it's on the district website, right?
Okay, the public has made themselves very clear that there's a certain number of people in the public that are dissatisfied, and they'd like to see us. I'd like to see it go back to the Education Committee and have a more thorough examination of this and see why it can't be done now and why does it have to be kicked down the road. Or if it's going to be kicked down the road for the next calendar, why we can't make the decision now. Why do we have to wait till then? That would just, if you can make a decision, do it now. Why wait till then?
Well, we actually spend an awful lot of time in the Education Committee working on the calendar when we do. And in the past, there have been arguments in the other direction. And quite a few school districts, rather than identify holidays at all, have chosen to just say school closed. Because ultimately, the days that we close are days that there are anticipated poor attendance among students and or teachers and or staff, whatever. So by continuing to say school closed, you're identifying the days that school is closed. Last year, when the Christmas issue came up, Christmas actually fell on a Sunday. And Christmas is invariably part of our winter recess. And we have shown winter recess. Christmas is not a 10-day holiday, as it turns out the recess often is. And that goes into other holidays as well during that week. That same week invariably turns out to be Kwanzaa and turns out to be Hanukkah once every couple of years. And rather than, we have a list of, I think, 262 state-approved holidays for which children or teachers can take off from school if that is their belief system. And if we started putting even a small portion of those 262 holidays on a calendar, there would be no room to write,
So
dental appointment, 3 o'clock.
So it's all or nothing. No, I get it. That's all right. You don't have to explain it. I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand. The other issue is, I noticed that I voted on, and I didn't realize it got through so fast. We did not, in my HR committee meeting, discuss, and we have not had this conversation about adding a new budgeted position for boys basketball coach, volleyball coach, that was never discussed.
For what?
Was it? I'm sorry,
Never.
For
Mr. Volpe never brought it up. We never discussed it. We never had that discussion in committee. Mr. Gillette, you were in that committee meeting, the first one. It was not in that one either.
I don't specifically recall us.
Yeah, this isn't a new position.
And
This
you
is
usually
filling
would
an
call me,
existing position.
you would call me if there was something that was an immediate problem that
But it
had to
says
be.
new budgeted position.
Right, no,
Yeah, but we never discussed it.
No, this is filling an existing position.
It says new.
On the agenda, it says new budgeted.
Coach.
I'm sorry, Mike, just indicate what,
Yeah, I just want to get a little.
I haven't taken American
sure
Sign
it
Language
wasn't
2
meant on
yet, so
purpose.
I
I'm
need
sure.
I need to
You
hear.
would have advised us if it was.
This is a position that was budgeted in last year's budget cycle for this school year. It is a new position. It's the first time it's being hired, but it was voted on
It's a
by this
budgeted
board as part of the
position,
budgeted
right, so it's
position.
approved
I
in the budget.
remember talking about that.
Thank you.
That I remember.
Thanks, thanks, Mr. Volpe. Thank you, Dr. Schiff.
Anything else from the board?
At least my memory served me well. I did remember.
Anything else from the board? Anybody else?
Hold on.
Dana, I'll take a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I had just pulled up the language for the new
Mike.
rice thing,
Okay.
which shows how really scary it is.
Okay,
It's,
all right, yes.
anytime something has been placed on the agenda, any matters, quote, involving the employment, appointment, termination of employment, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of the performance of, promotion or disciplining of any specific prospective public officer or employee or current public officer or employee employed or appointed by the public body. So, good luck. It's going to be a paper nightmare.
Thank you, Mrs. Haas. Anyone else? All right, motion to adjourn?
I just want to thank
So moved.
Mr. Volpe again for
Second.
remembering now that we did discuss this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.
That was the old discussion we had about bringing in the middle school volleyball teams. Thank Jen for that. Do you mind?
Employees.